Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be interviewing someone who migrated to America in 2024, and he's going to tell us about his dating experience and the difference between dating someone in America and Nigeria. I don't know if this is something that interests you guys, but if it is, can you stick around and do not forget to subscribe and like the video as well. So let's get right into it. Hello. Hi, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm good. Is it night or morning?
It's morning, 8:15 a.m.
Okay. All right. So let me not take, I think I have to put a timer so that we do at least, or we do at most 30 minutes.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into it. Let's start with experience you told me about. So for, let me just say this, that for you, those of you who do not know, I've interviewed him before and everything went south. That's why I'm redoing the interview. The date you said you went for with the lady who called the police on you.
We met online because, well, everybody I've dated so far has been somebody that I probably met on a dating site, maybe on Facebook dating or uh, another dating site. So we met online and, we started talking and it was going really well at first. And that was because of a couple of reasons. First of all, she's partly African. So one of her parents is from Sierra Leone, which is really close to Nigeria. So, she was raised, I mean, she's American and everything, but she was raised like an African because she was raised by an African parent. So, she grew up here in America, but she has all these African values. She can cook Nigerian food. She started learning how to even make Nigerian clothes and everything. She likes fabrics. So, for some reason, we just bonded really well. And we bonded over a lot of things like food and stuff like that. So everything was going well, over the first couple of weeks. And then we eventually decided to meet in person and she lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm in Athens, Georgia. So I decided to, go down to Charlotte to go see her. And then eventually I went, and we got to meet, and it was perfect. First day was perfect. Everything, and it was kind of around like Christmas last year. So it was like the festive season. We went out, we had fun, and we even decided to go to church together. And we did. We went to church. That was on New Year's Eve, and I met her pastor, and it was going really well. He was like, "Oh, you guys look like a beautiful couple. What's your intention? Do you really like her and everything?" And I said, "Yes." And I was like, "I'm really interested in, pursuing a serious relationship and seeing if it ends up in marriage and everything." And it was all good until a few months ago when when we actually broke up. And what happened was, well, she just has this like, because the thing is, I feel like everybody has some sort of experience in their past that they haven't completely healed from, and it might end up affecting them in their relationship. So that's kind of what happened. She has this thing where I'd say it's like daddy issues. She just thinks that men are, like, like unfaithful, and they always cheat on their partners. Um, so that was kind of what happened. Like, um, one of my exes reached out to her and was like, I was still texting her, and it wasn't true, but she just believed it. And yeah, she actually believed all of it. And I didn't even get the chance to like explain myself. Like, that was in the past. I'm not talking to her anymore. I really couldn't explain myself. I tried to explain myself. She got mad. She blocked me. And that was when I was like, okay, no, I really need to talk to her. And maybe I was acting out of desperation at that point because, now that I think about it, I could have made different decisions. I could have actually done something else. But what did I do? I decided to go see her again because, I've been to Charlotte a couple of times. I know where she lives, and I think I've met with her mom like once. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be like totally weird if I just, you know, pop up and show up. And I feel like that was the wrong decision. I mean, thinking about it now, I think it was the wrong decision, but that was what I was thinking about doing at the time because she blocked me, so I couldn't text her and I couldn't call her. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go see her in person to, like talk, have a conversation about this. Like, I didn't cheat on you. And I really want this to work. I just wanted to talk. So I decided to go to Charlotte again, and I did. And when I got to her house, she lives with her parents. So I was like, okay, I don't want to create any drama this morning. So I waited for her parents to go to work. And when they went to work, she was all alone. I knew she was alone at home. I mean, now it sounded like a scene in a serial movie, a serial killer movie, but no, that's not what it was. I just waited, and then I went to, I rang the doorbell, and she saw me. Okay, she actually did see me because, there's like cameras at the door. So she saw me. She knew I was at the door. But I guess she was still mad at me. She really didn't want to come have a conversation. So what did she do? She called the cops. And she told me that, that the cops were on their way. And when I heard that, I was like, hell no, I'm not waiting for any of that. So I decided to leave. So I had already left, like I was already in my car on my way back to Georgia when, um, I got like a voicemail from the cops and they were like, hi, it's the police. We're just calling because like, you were at this location and we would just advise you not to come around that area. Um, and I was really surprised that she actually did call the cops because, like, I never thought it would get to that point. I was like, okay, she's really mad. But then I really waited because I wanted to talk. And that was why I decided to go because I had no other option.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I also waited for like a couple of days to maybe when she gets like less angry if she would still want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually we talked and she was like, okay, she's gotten over it. She's forgiven me because I even had to talk to her pastor and I was like, this is what happened. And, I was like, okay, maybe she's gonna talk to her at some point. And she did. And she called me and she was like, yeah, she's forgiven me, but she doesn't want us to continue the relationship because she can't trust me. I'm like, okay, clearly you gotta deal with all these issues because you need to trust somebody. I mean, if I tell you that it's in the past and it actually is in the past, you need to trust that I'm telling you the truth. I did not cheat on you, but she got mad and she just feels she can't trust me.
Okay.
And I'm like, the truth is, if I have to apologize for stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to keep apologizing. I mean, think about it, because I'm actually thinking long term. I'm thinking about dating somebody that I would end up getting married to. And I don't think I want to keep apologizing like this for the rest of my life. I want you to actually trust me at some point, like actually trust me when I say something to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so,
Yeah. So
that's
I have so yeah, yeah. So I mean, nice story. I have a lot of questions. So first of all, in our last conversation, you said you're just been in America for 2 years now. That's 2024. So it's like 2 years, I guess, right?
uh, yeah, more or less.
Mm-hmm. And in our last conversation, you said you had not dated anyone in Nigeria. So
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
assume
I agree with that.
the ex-girlfriend who communicated with her, you that was someone you also met in America, right?
Yes.
Okay, so another question would be, why do you meet your partners online? What about meeting them face to face, just chatting someone up,
Yeah,
the way it is,
I
stuff like that?
kind of was expecting that question. So, the truth is, for me, I feel like I have not fully understood the social culture of America. Like how people interact with each other here is pretty different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into another story about how I was a little embarrassed because somebody did something to me a couple years ago when I first got here. Um, so I prefer to meet people online because, I'm not talking to you physically yet. And so I'm just texting you. And if you don't respond, that's cool. But if I meet you in person and you snub, or you just air me, you act like you didn't see me, you ignore me, that's gonna be more embarrassing to me. And it's happened a couple times because what I understand from my little experience, the way they interact is very different from how we did back home.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, over here, if you meet somebody and you get to know them, you introduce yourself, they know your name, and you actually know each other, you know? And if you get to meet them the next day, they might actually just walk up and just like they just walk past you like they don't even know you. They do that. They would just walk past you like they don't even know who you are. And so I am not used to that. I mean, back home, if I meet you the first day I meet you and I know your name, you're automatically kind of like a friend. Like I would always say hi. I would never just walk past you without saying hi.
Mhm.
And I'm not used to that. So I'm like, I feel it's easier for me to actually meet somebody online where I'm not seeing you, you're not seeing me. I'm just texting you. So I know if you stop texting back, that's it. Because I cannot stand being ignored intentionally, or maybe it's not intentionally. Because why would you just walk past me like you don't know me when you know me? And I've actually introduced myself to you and you know me and I know you. And I saw you and I said hi. So I just prefer to meet people online because it's easier for me to actually interact with them that way at first. And then we can decide to meet in person. At that point, I know you're not going to snub me when you see me in person because we already decided to meet.
Okay.
So it's just more convenient for me that way.
All right. So another question would be, in our last conversation, I don't know if you've had time to reflect on your thinking or if you still have the same perception. Yeah. But in our last conversation, you said that you didn't want to date, you weren't going to end up with a Nigerian person, right?
Well,
I don't know if you've reflected and if you've changed your opinion, but I'm not going to like say it because it has to come out
well,
from your mouth. But wait first. But in speaking about your experiences so far, I mean, as somebody who has just boys, the more I hear you speak, the more I want to tell my children, I beg, go to where you know. You know what I'm trying to say? Because, there are people who don't like to be ignored. And some people will call it, they'll say it's an issue, for people who use a lot of terminologies. But I don't think so
right.
because I can understand you in the sense that when you've spoken to somebody at first, why would you ignore the person the next day? You know what I'm trying to say? It doesn't make any sense. But this actually goes to show the underlying cultural differences, if
Yes.
that makes any sense. Secondly, going to a girlfriend's house, somebody that you actually have a relationship with, is something that in our culture would be normal. So going as far
Right.
as calling the police is extreme. And then the
Right.
fact that it was still the lady who had to break up with you, you know what I'm trying to say. Now, link all of this together and link it to why a Nigerian girl wouldn't be an option for you. Now, looking at your experiences, looking at the cultural differences, and putting everything together, do you still have the same opinion?
Well, I would say that this is not just about a moment of an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about a decision I made
Mm-hmm.
over a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and my decisions were influenced by my, of course, people's decisions are influenced by their knowledge, like what
Mm-hmm.
they know
Mm-hmm.
or their experiences. So I would say this is just one of those things that I decided to do based on my past experiences and also my knowledge as a result of those experiences. So I decided that I wouldn't want to date somebody from like that was raised in Nigeria, not just from Nigeria, but somebody who was born and raised there,
Mm-hmm.
because I just there's just a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the the cultural behavior of people and how they live and how they interact and what they think about, like their idea of what an ideal relationship or a marriage should look like.
Okay. So
Um,
I don't want to interrupt you, but just because I don't want it to be long, remember we agreed that I would like you
yeah,
to like in points. I would like you to point out these things. Nigeria, for example, we all know has about 500 languages. So meaning there are different tribes. And like I told you in my last video, um, I've lived in several places. So I'm one of those people who vehemently disagrees that we all behave the same way. In fact, I will tell you that's a lie. We don't all
I
behave the
mean,
same way, you
yeah,
know?
we clearly do
Exactly.
not behave the same way.
We all
That's
have different cultures. I would like you to just point out the things you're talking about, like, those things in specific.
okay. So to point this out,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot necessarily. like you've already mentioned, we don't all behave the same way, but there has to be some sort of commonality when it comes to a certain region or a certain nationality. Like
Mm-hmm.
we might not all behave the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but there's things that we all do. For instance, I mean, it's known all over Nigeria that there's power failure. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so there's this thing when you're out of power and then all of a sudden the power gets restored. Everybody says the same thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to have to repeat it, but everybody says the same thing.
Of NEPA.
That's everybody knows that
Mm-hmm.
that is what they say when you
Mm-hmm.
get your power back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what part of Nigeria you're from. We all there's several things like that. We all do the same thing in that aspect. But that's just one example of like something that everybody does. Now the point I'm trying to make is that I might not be able to specifically point out something from a culture, a specific Nigerian ethnicity, because it's not like I have anything with a specific ethnicity, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about just anybody who's raised in that country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, um, it's commonly known, and maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not, but that a lot of Nigerian women
Mm-hmm.
have this thing where they're so I don't want to use the word materialistic, but that's kind of the only word I can think about right now. Where a lot of people just believe that once you're dating a woman, you got to have money and you got to impress her with money and
Mm-hmm.
you got to be the one paying all the bills and doing every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically does nothing because she believes she's a woman. She's just a girl, so she just sits down, sitting pretty, and then you go all you make all the money and you take care of her.
Okay,
And
so wait, so let's talk about that point. So, what do you know the poverty rate in Nigeria?
of course, it's. I clearly saw it a few days ago. It's very bad. It's like almost 80% of people are
Do you
barely
know
below.
exactly? Almost 80% of people in Nigeria are really poor. Do you know the percentage of married people in Nigeria?
Okay, I don't know that. Yeah, well, I don't have all those statistics,
Yes,
so I
yeah.
don't
So the
know.
reason why I'm
But
asking that is all of us, like your parents, I'm sure they were married, right?
they
Either
are married. They've been
exactly,
married for 28 years.
exactly. So either ways, they came together and they had you. My parents came together, they had me. Those 80% of people that are poor, many of them, if not almost all, are married. So when they say that, or when this
Well,
this
it can't be all of them because that's not even true.
yeah, it's
I
not
mean, not
true. No,
everybody's
it's not
married.
true. But in our end, marriage is like the highlight of everybody's life. So virtually most people are married. If not married, most people have had encounters with men and have kids, right? So in Nigeria, you don't have we don't do child support. Okay, now they're trying to enforce it, but still it's still not effective. We don't do alimony. So meaning
Nah, none of that's gonna work.
exactly.
It's not even
So
gonna
yeah,
work.
it's not gonna work. So meaning that an average Nigerian woman is working. An average
Well,
Nigerian woman has a job. All the friends I
I don't,
have, they all have
I
jobs.
don't, I
So
don't know about that
yeah, no, because you
because
said something. You said, oh, the man does everything and you just sit down doing nothing. That was not the experience of
I,
my mom. My mother had a job.
I really don't know
You-
about
no,
that.
no,
When
but
you said the average Nigerian woman has a job, that's
yes,
not. I don't think
that is true. I don't know where,
that's the
but in
point.
what part of Nigeria did you grow up?
Well, I would say I spent most of my life in Abuja.
Okay,
Most of my life.
okay, maybe Abuja women don't work. I'm sure somebody listening would come and counter that. But I stayed in
I don't
Lagos.
know. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that. I'm
yeah,
not
but
saying they don't work or they work.
yeah, but what
And
I'm
see, the
telling you
thing
is,
is,
but what I'm saying to you
so
is, the average Nigerian woman is a hustler. I remember when I was in Cote d'Ivoire and I was sitting down at a bar and they were rating women for marriage material. Do you know why Nigerian women were last on the list? They said because Nigerian women were hustlers and that. And you know what? You know the way Africa is highly patriarchal. So if you're a woman that is very ambitious, you're not considered to be a marriage material because you're expected to be in the kitchen. You're expected, and that was why the last president had the audacity to say that. So when we say
all
that
that,
Nigerian
yeah.
women
So
don't work, that's like anybody listening to you will be like, where did you get that from? When many Nigerian women
so
are carrying the headache in their homes, even though they lie that it's their men. How?
yeah. So what you just said is kind of also related to my point. It's not necessarily just because they don't work. I didn't say they don't work, but they expect. the man to take care of every single thing financially. And now maybe it's because they don't work. Maybe it's because they.
But that's not real. What you're saying is not true. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Because,
It's not true.
Well, yeah, you can disagree with it.
No, no,
and
no,
that's
no.
why
I'm not
because
disagreeing. I'm not
and I
disagreeing with your. I'm not disagreeing.
I would say that
Mhm.
because I've experienced it.
I've
experienced it, and I've heard several people share their experiences.
But
And
are
it's
you
very
aware?
similar.
Wait, are
I
you
was literally
aware?
talking to somebody yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same thing. He told me.
Let me tell you what a man said. I think I have to look for that quote. A man said that an average Nigerian man would date a prostitute and label it as Nigerian women. Let that marinate, because you just said 80% of people are in poverty. Nigerian women want you to carry everything. If 80% of Nigerians are in poverty, and out of those 80%, we have married women, where are the Nigerian women who like money? Is it the 20%?
For the purpose of this conversation, right?
Yes.
We are not including any married people because they're irrelevant to this.
They can't be irrelevant because they can't. No, why they can't be irrelevant is because they can't be irrelevant because the poverty rate in Nigeria.
Married people.
Because no, because we are all dating to get married. That was your opening line. You said you were
married people are not relevant because they are already married, so they have nothing to do with this conversation.
They do. They do. They do. So let me. They do. So they do. Let me.
About people who are already married.
They do. So let me explain that to you. They do. Let me explain that to you. When you say, I mean, I'm married. So when I hear Nigerian women, I'm looking at myself like, am I a Congolese woman? I'm a Nigerian woman, of course. Do you get? And then secondly, we were all single before we got married. We were all single before we got married. And then everything you're saying today is not something that, I mean, to be honest with you, I never used to hear people talk like this. To be honest with you, I have never really been around people who speak like this, so this, because I'll tell you for a fact that my friend who works in CBN, when she told me do you know that I'm telling you for a fact that a lot of women carry the problems at home, and just to cover the men, they say it's the men that are doing it. A lot of women do that. Now, I think what you're mistaking is culture, because in our culture, it's expected that the man does that. But in reality, many men cannot. Many men cannot.
Culture. What do you mean by our culture? Because there is no
single culture, exactly. But in my culture, it's expected, and that is why when you come to marry a girl from my place, they will tell you to bring boxes of clothes to prove that you can take care of her. You're going to bring yam.
They also do that in Nigeria.
Exactly. So there are cultures where they do that, because I can tell you that in my own place, it's evidence that you can take care of the woman, and that is a culture that I don't think I want them to abolish, simply because this is a human trait. Anything you get easy, you take it for granted.
Like, you're active on Twitter, but recently
I'm not on Twitter.
Nigerians were posting things women say, and when I say women, I mean Nigerian women, because Nigerians will be talking about Nigerian women. It makes sense. They were saying things that Nigerian women say that you wouldn't realize how stupid it sounds until a Nigerian man says it. Like, he's saying it as a man, but then just basically repeating what a woman said. I'll find that thread.
Okay, so let's forget about Nigerian women. But my point is, if you go by statistics,
and this forget about it when that was your
no. We have to move. No, I'm just saying that we have to move like, I have a plethora of questions to ask you. But I'm just saying that to summarize it, the point is, for everybody, because even me, like what I told the person I interviewed on Friday, ever since I came overseas, I stopped putting people in boxes, because I've come to realize that we're all human beings at the end of the day. We are all human beings. But in this Europe, my husband was telling me of a wedding he attended. Oh, I love you. The moment the woman discovered, oh, there was a loan he couldn't pay back, she left. This is a German woman and a German man. So these things are, and I don't use Twitter, that's the truth. But I will tell you that the kind of women who are not going to require all these things men are asking for, men are not attracted to those kind of women. That is the fact. And so, like a Nigerian man said, a typical man will go and approach a prostitute, and then he would make it a national business and say it's all women. But when you see the girl who probably does not have human hair, does not even have her nails done.
I don't even know any. I don't.
Or does not even have her nails done, or does not even you won't talk to that kind of person. No, we don't talk to women like that. We don't talk to women. We don't.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't talk to women like
men
that.
or visually oriented.
Exactly. So you want so you want to so you so exactly. So you want to meet a woman. You want to meet a woman who probably would use 750,000, as my friend told me yesterday, to buy a wig, and then expect.
All of that is related. So
and then expect.
What you're saying right now is related.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so let's go to American women. Let's go to American women. Because I'm an avid watcher of Kendra G's show. Yeah. And when you watch Kendra G's show, those women come and they tell you the amount they expect the man to have. They state the figure.
I've heard that too. Here's the difference, right?
What's the difference?
Those women saying you should have a certain amount, usually, and maybe this is wrong, they usually have that amount. Like I would say every single woman that I've dated here in America is gainfully employed and makes good money. When I say good money, I mean they're financially comfortable. And they do not need a man to pay their bills. But they do realize what the dynamics of a relationship is all about. They know that a man is supposed to be responsible and to be a provider. And so they expect a man to have a certain level of financial stability to be able to run that relationship. But that does not mean they expect a man to take all the bills and pay all the bills. No, because they're also making money.
Agreed.
And that is also where the whole concept of like marrying the right spouse comes in, like marrying somebody who's, kind and considerate and selfless and all that. Because if you marry a good woman and, she's making money too, you also know that she would not just allow you to be struggling to pay everything, no matter how much money you're making. She would also want to contribute because it's your family. It's a family affair. And everybody's supposed to, she's supposed to be your wife and to be your help. It's still related to, I mean, if we're actually comparing, like, to Nigerian women. I know we're not talking about them. The only reason why it would be different is because, like we've already rightfully stated, there is a high rate of poverty over there. And that is also because there's a high rate of unemployment over there. And so you don't expect everybody to be employed. So they do not make the kind of money that American women make. So you cannot even expect a woman on average in Nigeria to be able to contribute significantly as much as a American woman who's gainfully employed. So bottom line is you want a non-Nigerian woman who can contribute equally. That's what you want. Because I'm not saying it has to be equal. I'm saying she should be ready to significantly contribute. Yes, or a relationship. Yes, agreed. It doesn't have to be equal. Yes, I think when I listen to you, for me, I just think you just have a fetish for something that is not. Like, there are people who just say, oh, I like black people, I like white people. I think that's just because every label you try to put on Nigerians, it's because even right now, you said a woman to contribute. See, the poverty in Nigeria is not designed for women alone. It's designed for men and women. So meaning if a woman doesn't have. Exactly. So when you say, oh, expecting the man to carry, I'm trying to tell you that logic does not even work because the man does not even have. Do you get what I'm trying to say? The man doesn't even have. That's why I was wondering when you started mentioning the level of merit, because there's because they don't have. So if exactly there's also no. I was wondering why you mentioned that because there's also another ongoing statistical study that's showing that marriage is declining. People are marrying at later ages now in Nigeria, and they're like, why is that? The question is, why is that? That's because they do not have the financial capacity to do it. Exactly. And that's why you see a 35 or 40-year-old man who's not married because he feels he doesn't have money for marriage. He's not ready yet. And it's not his fault. The economy is unfriendly. He does not have a job. He cannot raise a family with no money. When you are such person, like as a man, if you're that kind of person who, you're still struggling, you're looking for a partner, and maybe you get a job. Say you get a job and you start, making a little bit of money, and then you're like, okay, I want to settle down. You would definitely not want to settle down with a woman who believes, because I've also heard this from a couple women. They say something like, "My husband's money is my money, but my money is my money." Like they feel like their husband's money is our money, but the money they make is women.
Okay, yeah. So let me ask you a question. When you were in Nigeria, did you ever date anybody?
No, I did not.
Okay, so yes, agreed, which is fine. I hope that when you get older at some point in your life, you can sit back and say, why would I have such strong opinions about something I didn't even experience?
Well, I never had to experience. I had several people in a relationship. You don't need to buy electricity to know that it's dangerous.
Oh, good. So what's the population of Nigeria? 200 million people. In these 200 million people, are you going to include the members of your household to say, okay, this is how they are? Or are you going to exclude your family from it?
Well, when you say, I mean, maybe my uh, extended family, maybe.
Not your primary family. So, but you know that if I go to ask everybody will exclude their primary family from such thoughts. Everybody will say,
Well,
"Oh, but
I wouldn't necessarily do that because I'm trying to be objective here. And
you can't be objective when what you're saying is not even based on your experience. You're talking about hearsay. That's not objectivity."
No, you cannot. It can't be here. Everything cannot be hearsay. So for instance, it's like saying, okay, for instance, if I was like Nigerian, but I was raised here in America, and then my parents tell me we can't go back home because it's dangerous there and there's insecurity and they're killing Christians, and I believe that, and then you say that I'm not being objective because I haven't experienced it. I don't have to be objective to know.
We're comparing yams. We're comparing yams and oranges. At this point, we're comparing yams and oranges.
There's enough.
No, at this point, we're comparing yams and oranges because you just said no. You know, when you're talking about the killings in Nigeria, you have statistics to back that up. When you're talking about the materialism in Nigeria, you have statistics to back that up. And I have disproven that by telling you that if 80% of Nigerians are in poverty and poverty is not designated for women alone, it means that both the men and the women are both in poverty. Amongst that 80%, we have people who found love in that society. So where did we get this ideology that you need materialism or you need money to catch a woman when there are so many people who are married and they don't even have money? Where did you get that analysis from?
That is based on the significant amount of people who shared their personal experiences. My opinion
Yes.
does not have to be predicated on personal experience for me to know that that's what it is. I was literally talking to somebody yesterday, and he was telling me the exact same thing about his experience. And this is somebody I know personally. He's a good friend of mine. And we were just talking. I saw him with like he posted a picture with this lady, and I was like, "Is that your girlfriend?" And he was like, "No, I just met her a few days ago." But then he was like, he honestly doesn't think he wants to marry a Nigerian woman.
In life, most times, when you want to give gist, you go to people to like. There is this theory. I think you can Google it up. They did. I think it's with cars. They said look for all the red cars, and people pointed it out. And then they asked, "Did you see the other color of cars?"
You just go to people who think like you.
The point is you are surrounded and you see what you want to see, because while you have these experiences, yesterday my husband was watching a compilation of videos. So there's this guy that goes on Nigerian streets. What he does is he will say, "Do you have a boyfriend?" The girl will say yes. So he will lie and tell the guy that I have a parcel for you. Call the name of your girlfriend. Do you know that all of them? Exactly. Do you know what? Do you know what was shocking to me? Two of those girls are giving those guys their kidney in that same Nigeria where they say there is nobody. They like money. I was even asking my husband, do these girls have parents? Who gives a boyfriend kidney? Two of those girls are giving their boyfriends kidney.
Well, so that's unfortunate.
This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. So the point is, people that this have happened to. I know people. I know my friend. She works in CBN. I can tell you for a fact, 17 months that guy has not come home. Now she's filing for a divorce because he's gotten so bad and she can't even find the crazy man to file. They finally after months they finally served him. Now he's forming. He wants to come to our office and talk to her. So while you're paying attention to the fact that an average man, like you said, men are physical beings. So in a country where there is poverty, you're a physical being. So you want a girl who looks upgraded, who is obviously living above her means. And then when it doesn't go well for you, you now label the poor Nigerian women who probably don't have anything.
I don't want anybody living.
No, but why don't you people be honest and say, I like beautiful things. I like a woman that is well kept by men, and if it doesn't work, it means I cannot afford her. Why say Nigerian women? Because there is a poor Nigerian girl that just hustling, living her life. She doesn't even know where food will come from tomorrow, doing her regular job, doing a small business. Those ones are not marriage material because, of course, people are not attracted to them physically. But they say soup that is sweet, it is money that kills it.
That's also not true. There are people attracted to such women. I am attracted to somebody who's.
But you didn't even. But you didn't. But you didn't even want them.
I don't.
But you didn't even want them.
Place a certain I don't place a certain level of financial stability. Like I wouldn't say I can't date you because you don't earn this certain amount of money yet. That's not a prerequisite for dating somebody to me. So that's not what makes me attracted to somebody. And I would never say I want to date somebody who I'm not, who lives above their means. I didn't say that. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of people, a lot of women in Nigeria who live above their means because maybe they're able to be, maybe they're physically attractive, enjoy a lot of favors from men who are rich and financially comfortable, and they feel like they don't need to do anything. The unfortunate truth about Nigeria is an average woman literally does not even have a chance to become anything without a man. So let us start with that. Because the system itself is patriarchal, and if 80% of those people are in poverty, you're saying that they are that way because that's how it's. I'm not saying that they are that way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you that. But you just said. No, let us go with the statistics. If 80% and take the man's money and then. Because you said they don't want to do anything. All they do is take the man's money, and I'm telling you that that is not true because a lot of women that even take this man's money, they use it, and that is how they become wealthy. You said no. They have to, in quote, you said they have to marry and take the man's money and then become something. That's what you just said. In quotes to you too. Do you remember when you said that most of these women just take this money and don't want to do anything? That was what you said. No, that's not what I said. Okay, let's go back to what you said. I said many of them do not want to do anything, but they want to marry somebody who's doing everything. They just want to be there. But this is what so I am responding to what you just said, that this is not even true. Well, see, the thing is, I feel like you already have the way you think. That's not true. That's not true. That is not true. Because that is not true. What you expected to hear, you just don't want to agree with that. Don't forget that. Don't forget that we've had this conversation before, and I listened so well. But when I kept on editing, I was like, no. Because I remember there was a video I posted on TikTok and people said, why did you say this to this person? It was one guy who came to my house and was talking about how black people are criminals. He's a Nigerian guy, just like you. So I've seen this madness go left and right and center. He's married to a white woman. So because he's married to a white woman, all of us are criminals. The person I interviewed on Friday, he said that, don't you think that Nigerians sound the way they do because they are coming from a country that has offered them nothing? So they don't have any loyalty or whatsoever, and they see everything as bad. And I think that's what's happening here, because when I also traveled, the first time I left Nigeria, I was like, God forbid, I'll never go back. God forbid, this, that, this. When this guy said that thing on Friday, it made sense to me because even when I left, I had the same mindset. But because I'm married to somebody who has worked, you know, when you're married to somebody that is not starting life. So I can now see that, oh, damn, we are literally the same, because he has a lot of German friends. And so I see the stories, I see what happens. Even the wedding I went for last year, where it was white and white wedding. The groom, the mother of his daughter, is in prison currently because the husband she married was molesting their daughter. So the point is, when you integrate in society, like you rightly said, you're just 2 years in America. When you really integrate, you begin to see, oh, we're just human beings after all. There is no story you will hear in Nigeria that you won't hear here. I'm not the right person for the questions. Maybe you need to talk to somebody who's been here for life. No. Maybe I don't need to do that. But why this conversation is interesting is because, like I said, we all go back and reflect. We all go back and reflect. Me a question. Here's what you're doing. You asked me a question. Why did I choose to do what I did? Why do I believe what I believe? And I'm telling you, and then you're disagreeing with my reason. Like, I'm disagreeing because what you're saying is not founded. It's not founded, but it's not founded on facts. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you don't have a choice. I'm not saying you don't have a choice. You can marry anybody you want to marry, but so what do you wait when you say it's not founded on? It's not. You're saying I have to do some sort of statistical analyses before I decide make my decision.
No, you don't have to. You can make your decision based on the fact that, oh, I like. You can make your decision based on the fact by just saying, oh, I prefer to marry somebody else. Maybe I don't know, for the fun of it. There are people who like flavor. There are people who feel like if they are not mixed with something, they are not great. But when you now start saying derogatory things that are not true in the same sentence, where you're talking about 80% of people being poor, you're talking about materialism, you're talking about men providing everything, when it doesn't, like, I'm using your own words to tell you that it's not aligning.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just my preference. Maybe I just prefer that.
And that's fine. But that's fine. But let me ask you this. Because there was a question I was going to ask you. Then so let's assume, okay, the problem we're going to take your word for it. Let's assume the problem Nigerian women have is they want a man to provide everything and all of that. You also know that in America, Nigerians are doing really, really well, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you think the Nigerians in America are waiting for their Nigerian husbands to provide everything for them?
Yes, they still want somebody who's going to do everything. But
okay, and you got that from
here, when you come here and you realize there's a different system of things, you have to adjust. You have to change that mindset. So the whole idea of 50-50 has to be something you would start considering, because before then you thought the man would be the one providing everything. But when you come here and you see how it works and you see how, there's bills to pay, there's a lot of expenses.
In Nigeria, we know we don't have basic amenities, yeah? So based on that level, how would you rate Americans?
What do you mean?
In Nigeria, we do not have basic infrastructure. We don't have no health system, no security, no good roads, no water, no light. There is nothing. An average citizen has to provide everything for themselves, right?
Right.
In America, how would you rate that?
I mean, there's all those things are provided.
Okay, so a Nigerian woman would leave Nigeria and go to America and understand that she's supposed to meet her husband halfway, but in Nigeria, where nothing is being provided, she doesn't understand.
Yeah, well, basically what I'm saying is when you move to a new environment and you see how things work there, you're supposed to accept it and start living.
Okay.
You're supposed to actually start thinking differently and change the way you think, because you're in a different place. And so the systems are different, and so things work differently. So you cannot still keep or maintain the same mindset you had.
Okay, so the problem is not the people, the problem is the society. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that over here, as compared to back home, people have to change the way they think, and there are people who've changed the way they think, but there's also people who don't. So it's all about how people think. It's all about their mindset, because it's their mindset that determines how.
So which brings us to the point that it's all based on the individual, right or wrong?
Well, yeah. I mean, every individual is different in the way they think, of course.
Okay. How did you feel?
Since you didn't agree with anything I said about the way Nigerian women act, which
I told you that when I was in Cote d'Ivoire, I opened a magazine where they rated us the least.
And then you started talking about Nigerian women being hardworking.
No, because that was the reason. That was the reason they gave. They said we were too ambitious.
It is a known fact.
They said we're too ambitious.
Nigerians are hardworking people. They are not lazy people.
Exactly. So
this has nothing to do with being lazy.
I'm just trying to pin everything you've said together, because you said, oh, they just wait for the man to provide. I'm telling you that realistically, that's not true. It's not true, because we can't be hardworking and at the same time we're waiting for the man to provide when an average man does not even have in Nigeria, because of the way the society is, the way the system is. So I'm only saying that if we reflect on our thoughts, you would see that our thought process is not rhyming. Like, it's not rhyming, and we keep using this particular group that everybody wants to date, these people on the fast lane, these ones that, we know those girls. I went to University of Lagos, I know what you're talking about, but God forbid I use those people to group everybody in. Like, the poverty rate in Nigeria is so bad as we speak. I know people, when I told you I had a farm in Ondo State. When I went to my friend's house in Ondo, it was in Unilag with me. I used to go to his house in Ondo. They didn't even have TV, no television. That was somebody. Do you know that when I stayed with this woman and she would cook breakfast, lunch, dinner, their father had double heart attack. So she was cleaning him every morning and bathing him. That was a Nigerian woman. So I'm only just saying that I have seen things and seen people to tell you that these things are not accurate. We only use the people we want. When it's like when I want a man and the man doesn't want me, and then I say all men are. I don't know if you started this whole interview by saying that the first girl you dated had daddy issues. And I didn't say anything because there is a difference between speaking about societal problems. Now, we know very well that there is racism, there is patriarchy, there is misogyny. These are individual, these are society systematic issues. But when you now have a woman who says all men cheat, that's nonsense because it's not true. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say. And so that's what I was trying to bring you back to say, no, when you say all Nigerian women are, it's not accurate because, like you rightly
I never said all of them. I told you my reason for my decision. I didn't say every single one of them. That doesn't make sense. I wouldn't say that. I never did that.
Okay, but the point I'm just trying to make is when we say Nigerian women are these or Nigerian women are that, which literally all of us are guilty of, we are guilty of that. The point of it is we have conversations to bring us back to be like, no, maybe you should have a rethink. Maybe that's not accurate. Do you get? So it doesn't take away the systematic, and that's why I told you culturally, yes, the men are expected to provide, but realistically, it doesn't work like that. My husband grew up in the village, and they will tell you that his mom used to follow the father to the farm. And that was how, when you go back before colonialism, our mothers followed our fathers to the farm. That was how it was. So everything we have today is materialism that came from colonialism and us wanting to be like the Western world. But that does not even describe the average person who does not even have money or have food. Or when I watch Pop the Balloon, you can go and watch Pop the Balloon. All those women are willing. I used to even ask my husband, what's going on? They are willing to provide, to clean, to cook. That's what they say. And you keep asking yourself, this looks like slavery. This doesn't feel like marriage. But when you now hear that and you hear this, it's like, no, it's not accurate. And I'm not even blaming you because, like I said, once you first jackpot like this, you just don't even want to have anything to do with your people. It's after a while you'll settle down and be like, no, maybe I was wrong. I don't know if that makes any sense because here now, the same.
Yeah, and that's why I said that maybe you think I need more time before I change my mind. But
No, I don't need you to change your mind, to be honest. I
because
just wanted you to see the contradictions in what you were saying. You don't have to change your
what you're
mind.
saying, what
You don't have to change your mind.
when you first leave,
Because I felt that way. I felt that
people.
way. I swear to God, I felt that way. I was like, God forbid. But now I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Why would I even think like that? And then
Well, but in your case, you're already married, so that doesn't apply. The bottom line is you think that I
Mhm.
have my opinions because I've chosen to accept what some people are saying, and that's not what the reality is. Maybe that's true. You know what? Maybe it's true because I would not, for one, even want to argue any of these things with anybody because I have my opinions. I have my. Everybody has their
That's
opinions.
their thought process, yeah.
Um. So maybe there's another underlying reason. Maybe it's
So
not
let me
just
ask you. So let me
race.
ask you. I told you that a man who is married to a white man came to my house and was saying we're all criminals, we're all that. And when I spoke to the man, my husband said he asked if I was like that because the conversation kept on going on for a while and my sons were there. And my sons, they love Nigeria because they've been to Nigeria. So they love it. They like it. Like you can't even say anything bad about Nigeria. And I mean, I'm just 5 years here and I went to Nigeria after 3 years. So when I got to the plane, that was the first time a Nigerian lady said, let me carry your son for you because I had 2 kids and he was crying. Do you know how that thing did a number in my brain? He was like, what the hell? Why am I so hard on my people? Because my son cried all through a whole flight and nobody helped me. And I'm not saying this as somebody who has only lived in Germany. I used to live in Turkey. And in Turkey, they all loved kids. And which is what I'm saying, maybe exposure and all. By the time you travel, you begin to see cultures are different. Not traveling for visitation, no. I went there, I lived there, I
Well, I
worked.
don't think I need to travel to know that Nigerians can be kind-hearted people. I know that.
No,
That's not
but I'm
up.
only telling you my own face, like the faces I had to go through. Do you understand? The faces that you go through and you're like, no, maybe I'm wrong. Or, because even when I got here, my husband was telling me how they used to say marriages don't last, this. And I used to be the one to point at him and say, look at that couple, look at them, 2 black couple, they will now pause. And then in the case of my own husband, I had to tell him, the people you talk about, what level of education do they have? These are the kind of questions I like to ask people. What education do they have? What have they achieved? Because education matters, exposure matters, so many things matter when we are analyzing people, which is why I was trying to go from a statistical route to say it's not even accurate to have that thinking. Because when you say that, a person who has never met, do you know that all of us as Nigerians were suffering for the stereotypes we put on ourselves? I don't know if that makes sense, because when you say it now, someone will not even know that, okay, there's an 80% population that will probably not even have breakfast to eat. But we are saying Nigerian women, we're saying, you know what I'm trying to say? So I think,
If what you're saying is my perspective is not influenced by valid statistics,
it's not.
then what do you want? Like, what do you want me to? I mean, I don't have some sort of statistics to support any of it.
You're right.
What'd you say?
I said you're right.
Because I don't have any statistic to support any of this, but I just feel like it's something that I've decided to do, and I would rather date because I still value a lot of family. I still appreciate a lot of family values that Nigerian parents put in their kids, and I would rather date somebody who's like half of it. Partly, maybe their parents are Nigerian, but they were born and raised here. I would still rather date that person than to date somebody who was born and raised in Nigeria.
I mean,
Because
I pray you
when
find what you find. I pray you find what you're looking for, you know?
I mean, yeah, well, thank you, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I will find what I'm looking for because
Definitely.
it's not something unrealistic. It's not something imaginary. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, I clearly thought I did find something like that because I mean, I told you about who I dated before, and the only problem she had was, she had daddy issues, and that's not something
So
that's
the fact that
from.
the fact that you guys had a minor problem and she called the police on you is not you don't see that as a big problem.
Well, I don't see that as a problem. I cannot use. No, I'm not saying. I mean, of course, it's a problem. That's why we broke up. But I'm saying that she just had daddy issues, and that's just her. That's because of her family, because of her father. But that is not enough to put a whole label on a whole demographic of people. That makes any
So let me
that
ask you a
makes no
question. So let me ask you a
sense.
question based on what you just said now. If you, based on your experience, you don't think it's unfair to put a label on a demographic of people, do you think it's fair that you put a label on people you have never even dated?
Well, I don't think it's the same thing because I'm not putting labels on anybody. I'm choosing not to like not to date them based on what I have come to realize from numerous people's experiences, and they're all saying something very similar. And so they cannot all be wrong. That's what I know. I know that for a fact. You cannot have over 100 people saying the same thing and you're saying they're all wrong. They don't know each other from anywhere. They're random people who don't know each other. So they cannot all be saying the same thing and be up. They can't all be wrong. That doesn't make sense. You have 100 people who've been raised in different parts of the country and
Okay.
they're all saying the same thing about people and
Okay.
they're all wrong. That's not true because
Okay.
they have different experiences. They all have different experiences, but
Okay.
all their experiences
So
are similar.
yeah, so let me ask you a question. Are you also aware that do you know what they call passport bros?
Passport what?
Passport bro.
What exactly does that mean?
Oh, you're not aware. You aren't aware that there are so many American men who are traveling out of America to find spouses because they claim American women are not good.
Well, that's their perspective. That's their problems, and that's their problem. And I don't judge them. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's their choice. They choose who they want to spend with life. I mean, when it comes to marriage, it's a choice. You can choose whoever you want to get married to.
Yeah.
So if that's your reason for wanting to marry somebody else, it's yours.
No,
You,
one
you
of the
know, you
reasons
got to own it.
no, one of the reasons why I brought that up was because I think for me it's an observation. I think we've come to an era where everybody tries to, when it's like I don't know if it's fancy to say, oh, my partner is from a different place, because while one is saying Nigerian women are this, the other one is saying
I don't
Ghanaian
think
women
you
are
would
this,
marry somebody
an
because of
American person is
face
saying
or for
American women are
face.
this. Like, it's just crazy, man. What?
Yeah, everybody thinks
it's greener on the other side. Exactly. So it just makes me feel like, no, maybe people.
So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, really. No problem. I hope in 20 years, because I hope.
I wouldn't be single in 20 years.
No. Nobody wants you to be single, because the point of this whole conversation, like for me, I don't have a problem. I'm very happy when I see a Nigerian marry a foreigner, simply because for me, what I would have preferred is that for one of the arguments I used to have with my husband is, I hate culture. I think these things were done by humans and it's time for us to evolve, that I agree. So I would prefer society.
Culture is part of life. It's part of who we
Yes, but there's an evolution towards it.
We need to be flexible.
Exactly. We need to be flexible. So that is what I push for. I push for flexibility. I push for, we should, in this day and age, nobody should be shaving any woman's hair and saying she should drink her husband's dead body water. Nobody should be doing those kind of barbaric things. You know what I'm trying to say? So I get it. So, but invariably, I'm not upset when I see somebody marrying a foreigner. No, I am totally not upset, but it's just that it has come to my notice that these are the kind of rhetorics I hear. I had to even tell one of my family members, don't come to my house, I'm talking about black women and hair. I had to say it because I'm very upfront about it, which is why I told you, people tell you what they know you want to hear. Me, I'm very direct. Now, anybody cannot come out to my house and be saying nonsense, because I will tell you, no, you don't say that in my house. You can call your spouse and tell them whatever it is. If you have a problem with their people, say it to them. But what you cannot say to your spouse, don't come to my house and be saying it, because I also have kids to raise and I also have my mental health to protect, I had to keep the video short simply because we were going to be talking for so long, but at the end of the day, where my guests, where his head is at and his opinion. Leave in the comment section if you disagree or you agree, and if there's a topic you would like to talk about, you can contact me. My contact is in my bio, and you can just leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you. Bye.